we got a pretty good turnout here today. Pat Benner and Patty Gamby couldn't make it. I don't know, Patty's in Italy, so it's like, okay, all right, I'll give you an excuse. And we have a guest today. Could you introduce yourself?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jimmy Carney. I'm a resident in the park here, and I was just interested in what your committee is up to. I do have some environmental background and interest, so eager to see what you all get yourselves in trouble with.
Your last name, Carney. Do you spell that with a K?
Kearney,
Yeah.
and it's Ginny.
Right. Yeah, because one of the things we found encouraging in the park, all the ponds you guys up there, you have a contractor planting all this riparian vegetation around the shorelines of the ponds, and it keeps the geese out.
Right.
So, and maintains ponds, and it's I'm gonna talk about that. That's something we're gonna try to do at least somewhat at the Southgate Pond.
Yeah, I read about that already. Good. So yeah, that'd be good.
All right, thanks for being here, and I guess we'll call the order for the meeting. I do have a few comments as well to introduce here. Again, this meeting is being recorded, and that's good because the video then gets posted up on the Ocean Pines website for the people to view. So I know we're all very professional. We have no problem with that. I'm going to continue to encourage committee consensus. So this is about the ENA committee. So everybody's going to contribute any questions or whatever about what I say or whatever I'm directing. Please ask me. Please interact with me. And so I wanted to bring up the outstanding issues. So what I put in the format of this agenda is a list of the issues so we can track what's happening and what we are able to accomplish. And you can see I've got things in red status or green status. I'm going to talk a little bit about the South Pond. We got just a recent update on that, about the shoreline issues. But that's going to be a running status list on what we can do. And what we can't do, I wanted to mention, we're going to try to broaden our focus. If you guys think that's a good idea, meaning more interaction with Maryland Coastal Bay and probably Assateague Coastal Trust. I think that's only natural. Two great agencies right, near Ocean Pines. Why are we working together? And they also will have a lot of volunteer opportunities. And Karen and Ann, when your memberships end, you got excellent opportunity to keep helping out in Ocean Pines, because we'll hope to, maybe get some projects with them in Ocean Pines. Again, the 2023 annual report was completed last fall. There is future project objectives. I don't know if you read that. I've emailed it out to all of you. It's also online on the Ocean Pines site. And if you wanted to refresh yourselves on future objectives. We had a great, I think, article in the Bayside Gazette 2 weeks ago that I think summarized. Cindy Hoffman pulled information out of the annual report, summarized some good things, highlighted the tree cutting issue, also highlighted our interest in South Pond project and controlling geese. So I hope you were able to see that article. I think it was positive for the committee and Ocean Pines. Okay, so I'll ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
Make motion.
Okay, thank you, Don. And the second and Brian. Okay, and I'm not as formal as Doug Parks, but I'm gonna take that as we're good. Okay, approval of the minutes from our last meeting in November. Is there a motion? Brian.
Second.
Okay, and Don. Very good. Here we go. All right. Now today we have a wonderful visitor, Carly. Is it Tulin?
Tulin, yeah.
Okay, from the Maryland Coastal Bay Program, and she's going to talk about. I gave her some issues that. A series of issues where we can interact with them, volunteer projects. We're also going to talk more in detail later about the Nature Sign project at the Route 90 pond, because that is an active project now. And just by the way, I think Carly and maybe Jared.
Yep, Jared Parks from Lower Shore Land Trust.
So from another agency, Lower Shore Land Trust is going to be here next month, our next meeting, and to focus in on invasive species. I think, Don, you were very concerned about that because you apparently work with these guys, done some volunteer work with them. That's something that I think we can become more active in the invasive species control. And then in March, Assateague Coastal Trust will attend our meeting. Okay, Carly, what have you got?
All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. So as you know, my name is Carly Tulin. I am an environmental scientist with the Maryland Coastal Bays Program. I have been with Coastal Bays since 2019. I started as an intern, and then I became a full-time scientist in March 2020. So right when the pandemic was in full swing. But I absolutely love working for the Maryland Coastal Bays Program. And today I'm just going to provide you with like a really quick overview of our organization, some of the work that we do, opportunities that you guys can take advantage of, and then some of the projects that are ongoing in Ocean Pines that we're either assisting with or can assist with. If at any point you have any questions, just let me know. Or if you want to save them till the end, that's also fine. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So the Maryland Coastal Bays Program was founded in 1996. We are a national estuary program, which that just means that we have federal recognition from the Environmental Protection Agency that states that our watershed is an estuary of national significance. And therefore we get extra funding from EPA to help support our mission, goals, and efforts to restore, conserve, and protect our Maryland Coastal Bays watershed. For current and future generations. So that's kind of who we are in a nutshell. Although we are a nonprofit, as I mentioned, we do get a majority of our funding from EPA and through the National Estuary Program. So I hope everyone here knows this, but just in case you don't, because believe it or not, many people do not know that the Maryland Coastal Bays is its own entity and separate watershed. We are not part of the Chesapeake Bay. We are,
Yeah, it's got a real blink.
This is our watershed. So we consist of 5 main bays and then 1 major tributary, the St. Martin River, which is where Ocean Pines is on. But our watershed is fairly small. It's only about 175 square miles compared to the massive Chesapeake Bay, which is, we like to call ourselves the Forgotten Bays sometimes because most people don't know we're here. But I always like to have this slide just as a reminder that we are our own little watershed. So what does Maryland Coastal Bays Program do? So we work to protect and conserve and restore our Maryland Coastal Bays through these 4 main categories. We do restoration work, we do environmental education, scientific monitoring and assessments, and then outreach and communication. So those are our 4 topics that we focus on as an organization. And this is like you can see in the background, like many things are happening within those 4 categories. And there's even more that weren't listed here. So just to kind of go over a few of the things that you guys can be involved with, or anybody in Ocean Pines or living in our watershed, we offer several citizen science programs and initiatives. One of them is our monthly water quality sampling. We are actually looking to recruit volunteers right now for 2 new sites. We have equipment that's coming in. So if you know anybody that's interested, that is willing to drive once a month to get a water sample and then turn it into us, let me know. So
Well, Carly, I think there's at least a few people that have talked about wanting to do that. So maybe go ahead and later, email me that contact or that information or whatever, and then I'll send it out to the committee, and then and I'll let you guys decide. Okay, I want to help out. I'll let you sign up independently, at least as a start for that. But yeah, definitely, I think we want to add some water quality points in the, if it's the canals or whatever around Ocean Pines.
So we're going to be trying to focus, I think, in the northern portion of Ocean City is one of the areas that we're looking at. So we're trying to fill in gaps where we don't have sampling ongoing continuously. We have several sites in Ocean Pines from volunteers, which is fantastic. And then we have DNR. They also supplement our sampling. Asty Coastal Trust does a lot of sampling in the summertime, and then the Park Service does some of their own sampling on the national side. So we do have a lot of programs going on that all of that data gets combined into our annual report card. But there's like 2 specific locations where we kind of found a gap in that where we're trying to fill. So it wouldn't necessarily be in your backyard, but hopefully it wouldn't be too far away to where you wouldn't be interested in doing it. And also I run almost all of these programs that I'm presenting. So I'll have my contact information up at the end, and I should have a business card, but if not, I can write it down for you guys if you need it. But yeah, our monthly water quality sampling program has been ongoing since I believe 1997. And we've had just phenomenal volunteers. So if you're interested in joining us, we'd love to have you.
Carly, what are you sampling for? The BOD?
That's a great question. So we sample for nitrogen and phosphorus, and then we also sample for chlorophyll levels. We look at salinity, dissolved oxygen, pH, turbidity, which is a measurement of like how clear the water is or how much substance is in the water. We are looking at temperature, salinity. We're looking at the oxidation reduction. So there's a lot of parameters, but as a volunteer, you'd be collecting an actual grab sample, which is going to be looking at your total nitrogen and total phosphorus levels, and then your chlorophyll sample. And we look at TN and TP specifically because those are the main nutrients that are polluting our bays. So, you have your phosphorus and your nitrogen coming off of your cars, your runoff, your ag fields. If you're using fertilizers or pesticides in your yards, that's running off into our bays. So we test for those 2 main things, and we monitor seasonal changes, annual changes. And then same with chlorophyll. If you have really high chlorophyll levels, that can kind of be an indicator for algal blooms. And if you have algal blooms happening more often, then you have low dissolved oxygen in the water, which can kill any of the species that are either trapped in that area or aren't able to escape in time. So we'll, as temperatures continue to increase and we have a lot of hotter days in the summertime and they're more consistent, your DO levels are going to stay lower and you're going to see more fish kills. So that's something that we're trying to look at and monitor really closely. A new program that we just started partnering with NOAA is our phytoplankton monitoring network. So this is looking at, it takes us, every 2 weeks we take a sample at the Astig State Park boat launch, and we test to see if there's any harmful algal bloom species present. And then we look at the level of harmful algal blooms. So this isn't a harmful algal bloom species, by the way. This is just a little copepod that I thought was really cute that I wanted to show you guys. And it's just fun to see that, there's tiny microscopic things floating around in our water. But this, the NOAA Phytoplankton Monitoring Network is a nationwide program that's being implemented, and Maryland Coastal Bays recently joined in on the efforts because we don't really have too much algal bloom monitoring going on right now. DNR samples, I think, once a month at a few sites, but if we are able to sample every 2 weeks, we kind of get a better understanding of what's going on, because there may be an algal bloom the week before you get your sample, or 2 days after you get your sample. So the more you can collect the sample and look at it, the more you have an understanding of what's going on. We are also currently looking to expand that program with volunteers. So if anybody loves microscopes, let me know. The SD Coastal Trust is also going to be getting involved in this. And as I mentioned, there's a few volunteers already running the program. So this is something that we started back in the summertime. Oyster gardening. This is probably the biggest citizen science initiative that we have in Ocean Pines. And, you know, we have our annual oyster exchange every year at the Ocean Pines Swim and Rapid Club. Those are a couple of our volunteers. And then there's a few oyster stat on this shelf here. Our oyster gardening program is probably the easiest one to do because it doesn't require a lot of effort or time. You get a cage of spat on shell, which spat is just another term for a baby oyster. And you basically take care of those oysters and maintain the cage for a year. And then once October hits, you will meet me at the Ocean Pines Swim and Rapid Club with your cage. I will collect your oysters, plant them on one of our restoration sites, and then you will get new spat on shell to grow for the next year. You can have as many cages as you want. You can have one cage. If you have access to a dock or a bulkhead or, you know, any type of brackish water, as long as your water levels don't drop too low and your cage can be fully submerged. That's the biggest thing. And then you also have to be a full-time resident because you have to maintain your cage and check it every couple of weeks just to make sure that there's not a lot of fouling organisms like barnacles or tunicates or sea squirts growing on it. But yeah, this is definitely the biggest program. And we partner with the protectors of the St. Martin River, which is run by the Jankowskis. And they are phenomenal. They started their own program. And they have really supplemented our program by donating all of the oysters they grow to Maryland Coastal Bays program. So we love them. They're fantastic. But yeah.
So how many participants participate here in Ocean Pines?
So our program, I believe we have 45, and then the Jankowskis, I think, have around 90. So we get all of our cages and spat on shell donated to us. So the Maryland Coastal Bays program is part of the Marylanders Grow Oysters program, MGO, which is a big collaboration between the Oyster Recovery Partnership, the Horn Point Laboratory with Hutsies, and then several other organizations. But basically, we get all of our materials donated to us, and then we are able to provide that to our volunteers for free. We are kind of limited in how big our program can get just because we only get so much for our donations. But the Jankowskis, they charge, I think, a certain amount for a cage. And go ahead.
Yeah, $5 for the 75 spats, and then
Yeah.
I think it's $35 for
Yeah,
everything.
I know that the price of the cage went up a little bit just because the cost of materials went up. But I think it's about $40 for you to sign up, and you get your cage, you get your oysters. They don't make any money off of it. They charge strictly for what the materials at cost are. So yeah, because of that, because they buy their spat, they make their own cages, they can kind of have their program be a little bit bigger. But yeah, this is one of my favorite programs. I love it.
So there's like 15 to 1,700 properties on the water here in Ocean Pines. Not sure how many are rentals, but anyway, there's a big opportunity there to increase participation.
Yeah.
And I've been in touch with the SD Coastal Trust, had an event over at Sterling Tavern, and I met the guy who does the oysters there, and he says he has cages and stuff that he can't use anymore that could be donated in order to help with the program. He also has a break, so he can also manufacture his own cages because he's in the business.
Yeah,
So,
the more oysters in the bays, the better, in my opinion.
yeah, and so last night, I live in Colonial Village, not on the water. There's not too many properties on the water, but I asked, at our HOA meeting, how many people knew about this program, and not too many people really did. And so if we were to communicate that to the property owners that are on the water, we could, increase participation from, 45 to 90, maybe 100, maybe more than that. But I know you have a limitation of, spat as well as the cages. But I think I've maybe found an issue for the cages.
Yeah, that's great. And then, as I said, the Jankowskis, they they're willing to build cages for really anybody. And then even building the cage itself and getting the materials isn't that difficult. So people could learn. I've asked him to see if he would be interested in hosting like a small workshop to teach people how to build their own cages. And he said, if people are interested, then we could do something like that. He did a cage building expo at our Ocean Pines Bay Day last year.
Okay.
So he had a little table for his organization, talked about the Protectors of the St. Martin, and built a couple cages throughout the day, which was really fun. And hopefully he's going to do that this year too. But another organization that I've been in contact with is Baywater Farms. They're down in Chincoteague Bay, and they run their own Bay Scallop aquaculture facility. They've been noticing a lot of natural oyster spat settlement around their bay scallops. So they're going to be partnering with Protectors of the St. Martin to provide more spat for volunteers. And then they want to try and start their own program down in the Southern Bays, because almost all of our volunteers are either in Newport Bay or in St. Martin River. There's a couple that are in Ocean City, but we'd really like to expand the program into the Southern Bays too. But yeah, any type of partnerships or any way that we can expand it, I'd be happy to help with.
Right, right. So I think I've explained that I have friends in over by Hoopers in that marina there.
Yeah.
And there's opportunities there as well. So I mean, this whole oyster gardening thing is great for all the waters in the basin.
Yeah.
The Jankowskis, are they located in Ocean Pines or are they on the same? They are.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and if anyone's interested in their program, they're always happy to take on new people.
Yeah, I got my spats last week and they were all on scallop shells from Joe.
Yeah, yep. He said he was going to get some from them, so that's pretty cool. And honestly, I really like when they're already on shell because it gives them a good substrate to start building that reef structure on. So I'm really excited to see how they do. That'll be a cool experiment to see. But yeah. Any other questions? All right. So another community citizen science initiative we have is our horseshoe crab surveys and our stranded spawning horseshoe crab recovery team. So our surveys take place from May to July. And we basically assign volunteers different survey locations where we know horseshoe crabs are spawning. And they go out and they count the number of horseshoe crabs that they see. And then they also sex them by male and female to understand the sex ratios and spawning ratios. The surveys normally take place in the evening around the high tide, so they can be later in the night. We do have a core group of volunteers that have been running these surveys for as long as I've been here, if not longer. So we normally don't recruit volunteers for the surveys themselves unless we take on a new location. But the biggest thing is our stranded spawning horseshoe crab recovery team. We implemented this program 2 years ago. So this will be the 3rd year of the program. And basically what we noticed, especially at sites like the Oceanic Motel, which is here in the background, you can see all of the rocks and the giant seawall that's in the back. And this is a huge hotspot spawning ground for horseshoe crabs. So when they come up at high tide when the water levels are much higher. They can easily navigate over those rocks and swim over them. And as they're spawning, that water recedes and the tides drop, and then they get stuck in those rocks and they wind up dying. So that's a huge issue that we noticed over the years. And if you guys remember back in, I think it was 2020, there was a huge issue with dead horseshoe crabs washing up into the dead end canals in Ocean City. It was on the news. It was all over Ocean City. It was a big deal. And it became a huge health concern for a lot of people who were living in those dead end canals. So as a way to kind of hopefully address that issue and mitigate the amount of horseshoe crabs that are dying during spawning, we created this program and we've rescued thousands of horseshoe crabs in different spawning locations over the last 2 years. So in my opinion, it's making a really big difference. And it's also just a really great way for people to get outside and help horseshoe crabs because a lot of people don't understand their importance. And it's a great educational opportunity for people as well. So really proud of that program. And It goes from, we have our training in like April, early May. And then we have a schedule that people fill out slots and they write, the time, location that they want to go out. And it's kind of just go when you want to go. And, if you can help out, you can help out, but there's no time requirements. You don't have to go out. It's just, if you're willing and able, we would love to have you out there.
Can I ask, so
Yeah.
what is recovery consist of? Just flipping them over and getting them out to sea?
So sometimes, yes, sometimes they just get stuck in the rock. You have to pick them up, flip them, and then walk out to the water and place them in. But at the Oceanic especially, they can get really stuck in between the seawall and the rocks.
Okay.
So sometimes you have to get down and like really unwedge them. So some of them, they bury themselves pretty deep. Sometimes it takes a little bit of effort, but a lot of the times it's just they're flipped over, wedged in between a rock. You just got to pick them up and put them back in the water.
And they don't bite.
No, they're totally harmless. They can't sting you. They don't pinch. I mean, I've sat there and stuck my finger right between their pinchers and it doesn't do anything. I don't recommend sticking your finger directly in their mouth, but that's the only thing. So this is just a few upcoming opportunities that we have to offer. Most of our programs are open to all ages and are free. If we do charge, it is solely to cover the cost of either having somebody come out as a guest speaker to talk, or if we really need to cover something for something big like a supplies cost for kayaks or whatnot. But all of these events are on our website, mbcoastalbays.org. You're more than welcome to take a picture of this. We also post all of these events at our social media accounts. If you're on our monthly newsletter, we post it on our monthly newsletter. So we have a lot of really, really fun and exciting opportunities, and people of all ages come out to these. So if you have grandkids, you can come out and bring them on those. The only thing is the trivia night at Secrets is 21 and up, just because it's at Secrets. So that makes sense. I will be emceeing the trivia night. So if you love trivia, come out. We would love to see you. We're going to have a raffle and a little silent auction as well. We have some really great donations coming in. So it'll be a really fun time.
Is that in Area 51 or where do you do that?
I think it's Morley Hall. Yeah.
Okay.
But then we have our Discover Your Watershed events. We have one at Shell where I think we'll be doing trail development and invasive species removal. We have 2 Explore the Estuary programs coming up in Berlin. One of them, you're going to be taking a tour around Berlin and looking at, I think, different pollinator gardens, rain barrels, stuff like that. So ways to incorporate environmental aspects into developed areas. The other one, I'm not too sure on the topic, but I think they both go hand in hand. We have a DYW at Lizard Hill, which will be, I think that'll be cage removal and invasive species removal. And then May 4th, I am super, super excited about, we're going to be doing a herpetology survey, which is reptiles and amphibians. We haven't done one in a few years, but we'll be going out to one of our properties and doing a huge survey to see what critters we can find. So I'm really excited about that. And then of course, Bay Day in Ocean Pines, we love it. That'll be Sunday, May 19th. We don't have I don't know about the rain date yet, but I'm sure that'll be posted if it's needed. But yeah. So now I kind of wanted to switch gears and dive into some of the projects that you guys are currently working on that Coastal Bays will be assisting with. So the first one
Well,
is.
let me introduce this because where did I have the agenda? Somewhere so we'll capture the agenda item with your
Okay.
presentation. But Karen did an excellent research and work and putting together the idea of, and you had to talk to consultants and to get some information. You also got some grant information at that time. Back in 2022, you talked to the board in December 22. And then, I mean, there was some brief, consideration of that, but it appears to have come alive again. Now, what the Ocean Pines did do last year was apply for the grant through the funding grant through Maryland Coastal Bays. And that's, at this point, it was approved if in the program's, agenda, I'll call it. But then the EPA has to approve that funding, and the timing of that is, as you said, is hopefully it's in February sometime. That will actually, and apparently it's on the order of $150,000. Viola had that in their board meeting on the 20th. You had a slide talking about that. We talked about that amount, and we talked about how they would submit invoices. What I don't know is, well, we don't know exactly what they're going to be doing around the pond. Potentially, because what Karen researched was not just riparian plantings, but also some geotechnical work on the shorelines, putting in, because there's erosion on several sections of that pond shoreline, and to put in some structures, soft shoreline type structures. And one of them is called the stock itself. I'm not going to get into detail about that. Hopefully it's going to include that, because I think that was the initial purpose, was to help rebuild the shorelines. And then hopefully that'll also include riparian grasses or bushes or whatever, at which would the purpose of that would be to control the geese intrusion around that pond. If we can limit where the geese gather, that'll make the problem with all the geese, moving all over the place around that pond and crossing the roads a lot less. So that's what we have hope here. All right, go ahead, Carly, and talk about this, and then if we have any questions.
Yeah. So I took this directly from the 2024 bipartisan infrastructure law work plan that we submitted to EPA. I unfortunately don't know too much knowledge about this program outside of this, but I'll do the best I can. And if I can't answer your questions, I can forward you along to our watershed coordinator, Steve Farr, who handles a lot of our grant funding and manages different projects. But so this is what we have talked about with our work plan. So our goal is to restore approximately 4,600 feet of pond shoreline and shoreline buffer, providing nature-based resiliency, enhanced shoreline, nearshore and buffer habitat, and improving water quality. So we will allocate about $150,000 to the Ocean Pines Association. And with that money, we will be purchasing trees, shrubs, grasses, and plants to establish that living shoreline. And then with the help of the Ocean Pines Association and community volunteers, hopefully we will be having a planting event happening sometime in spring. I believe we're hoping to do it around the 2nd or 3rd week of May. But once those dates are finalized and we have the plants in hand, we'll talk more about like the exact dates, because obviously it'll be weather dependent as well. But the planting design is in the process right now. And then after the plants are planted and set in stone, we will give them a couple of months to, let them get readjusted to their new environment, and then come back in summer 2024 and then subsequent times to monitor the planting success and the shoreline itself to see how erosion is, if erosion is improving, if habitat is improving, and so on and so forth. If you had talked with Steve or Kevin more in depth about what type of shoreline restoration you'll be doing outside of planting, then I'm sure whatever you talked about will be incorporated into this. But this is what I have so far.
Has the design been completed? So when I asked that, has the actual thought in what sections of that pond are going to be addressed?
I am not entirely sure. I know that Kevin is still compiling the species list for the plants, trees, and shrubs that he wants, because we want to have a good balance of biodiversity. And then we also want to make sure that they are appropriate for a wetter landscape and that they'll still provide necessary habitat to different species. So I know he is working hard to compile a really good list that'll have like good quality plants for you guys. as far as like the actual planting design, I don't have too much information on that, but like I said, I can get in touch with Steve and see if he can forward that along to you.
Now, so it sounds like your program is going to do more of the physical design of what you really want to do at that pond. At some point, you'll have that done. Is Ocean Pines interacting with that? Because at the meeting, Viola said that, well, I want to start on the Route 589 side because that's a more sensitive section. So is there any kind of communication, do you know?
There should be, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we normally, when we're partnering with Ocean Pines or any organization on a project, we're in constant communication about next steps or where we're gonna be with the planning process.
So he's probably talking to somebody in Public Works or whatever.
I would imagine so, yeah. Steve and Kevin, they're pretty good about keeping in touch with people and making sure everyone's on the same page. So, yeah, I can see who they've been speaking with about this project.
Okay, now will that include, so because we had another consultant come in and this, again, this is what they do at the park. The type of vegetation there helps to prohibit geese because the geese apparently don't like tall grasses. They're afraid of it. And so they're not attracted to that. They go elsewhere. Is that going to be part of it?
I am not too sure if that's what one of your goals is for this restoration project, then I'm sure it'll be incorporated into the plan, but tall grasses will most likely be chosen anyways, just because they tend to get deeper roots, which holds the soil in better. So I would imagine they're going to be planting taller grasses anyways.
Because what was some of those plants, the hyacinths or I forgot the species that tributaries talked about.
Hibiscus?
Yeah, that's it.
Is marsh hibiscus?
I can't remember. I'm a geologist. Don't ask me about plants. So, okay. But I mean, whatever. I mean, that is one of our hopes is to have that type of vegetation, and not all around, but at least.
No, I understand. Yeah.
Especially like where one of the eroding problems is next to Ocean Parkway, across from the firehouse. And I mean, that's approaching the road, not all that bad erosion. And the geese also like that spot. So that would be like when Sharon last year got an estimate, preliminary estimate to repair, it was that section of the pond. It was 100 feet just to get an estimate. And hopefully that's going to be part of this particular project. I can understand the section along Racetrack Road because that pond shoreline is completely exposed. And I think the fishermen don't like that section because it's the water's too hot. The fish apparently don't go there. They go to the other section because the other complication we have is
Working around
where
recreating.
the people, the anglers, and they still need to have access in some way. And there's a lot of competing interests here.
Yeah, of course.
But I mean, this is great that at least this is going to happen.
Yeah. Oh no, it's definitely going to happen.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that I don't know too much about this project. I'm just not involved with it. But Kevin has over 25 years of experience with restoration work, and he's extremely knowledgeable about different plants and what works and what ecosystems and habitat types and what'll really help with your erosion issues. So I trust that with whatever plants he's choosing they're going to work really well for the pond.
Well, do you know, is it going to include, because that company Solitude came in and talked about basically it's a pillow or earth pillow that they attach to a shoreline, and then then your vegetation can grow out of that. It's basically their proprietary fabric that's tied to the shoreline, so you can rebuild your shoreline back out again. It's filled with earth. It's like a big pillow that they make, and it's staked in. And then the vegetation grows out of that. And once that becomes established, it sort of stabilizes itself and doesn't move anymore. I would be curious what kind of technology they're going to be thinking about in doing this, not just
Yeah.
simply throwing in a bunch of dirt, putting some plants up,
Right.
but something that's going to be more permanent.
Right, and I mean, I would imagine that we're working with, a contractor to help with this design, especially if one of the main focuses is restoring that shoreline. Not just doing the plantings. The plantings is something that we could do, but if there's a little bit more involvement, like doing geo surveys and whatnot, then if that's what they recommend is gonna be the best for rebuilding that shoreline, then we'll most likely trust their opinion and go with it.
Could we get like, just some information of what the current plan is?
Yeah, I can send that to you.
Okay, to make sure,
Yeah.
because right now, I don't think we have a clue what's happening.
Yeah, yeah, I can definitely, Kevin, he has been in Montana for the last 2 weeks, so I think he gets back today or tomorrow. So I'll reach out to him and
Yeah.
see if he can just give me a summary of what's going on and where we're at with, the planting design and process.
Yeah, if he has any preliminary sketches, any plans, just because I think as a group, right, guys, would you agree that we're very concerned about that pond, right? Okay, so we really, I think that was one of our main projects last year. We want to see where it's going, and we want to make sure it's a long-term solution to
Oh,
that
yeah.
pond.
Well, I mean, when we do, and obviously this is different, but, shoreline resiliency projects that we've implemented at like the Astique State Park, we're looking at really long term, like 20 to 30 years. Hopefully, we're hoping to have that resiliency be maintained. So that same mindset is going to be taken into consideration for this pond.
So it's a question. So there's what, 4 ponds in the Pines, maybe more than that, but this is the only pond which is affected by shoreline degradation because of wind direction.
Not exactly. It's probably one of the most sensitive ones. I mean, I think the Northgate Pond has some problems. The Route 90 pond has some problems, but I think the idea of what Sharon led last year was that's where our focus is going to be. And I guess we'll see how it works out.
Mhm.
If it really is a success, and then maybe start looking at the other ponds.
Yeah, I really got 2 issues. We got the goose problem, goose issue, let's say, and then we also have the erosion of the shoreline.
Yeah, this is the Northgate Pond in the summer. You can see all the cyanobacteria that builds up in there. It's really bad.
Yeah, so, when you had that.
That's an article I wrote.
And it's because the lawn basically goes right into the pond, so you got all the runoff.
Yeah.
But I think we gotta. I wish we could be the masters of the universe, Don, but we'll take a pond at a time.
And I mean, obviously with the plantings, you're gonna have more uptake of nutrients and runoff. So that'll naturally improve the water quality of the pond as well. Now, the temperature thing, unfortunately, that's out of our control, but the reason why the fish aren't in the warmer waters is because those dissolved oxygen levels are lower, so they're not gonna stick around there. Makes sense. But in regards to like your nutrient runoff, having all of those plants and shrubs and trees in place will really help filter out the water and runoff that's moving through before it enters into that pond. So hopefully you'll see less of nutrient overloading.
All right, great. That's super.
The next thing, I know that Jared and I are going to be talking a lot more in depth about invasive species next month. I didn't want to dive too much into it, but this QR code, and I shared this resource with Tim as well, but if you take out your phone and you have your camera, you can scan this QR code and it will take you to a PDF doc that Lower Shore Land Trust created. And it's basically a whole toolkit for managing, identifying, and maintaining invasive species in the Lower Eastern Shore region. So Lower Shore Land Trust, they work very closely with landowners on their agricultural land. They do conservation easements. They know a lot about natural pollinator plants and native species that are that you should be planting versus species that you should be avoiding. And then the regulations behind invasive species management. So I'm really excited for Jared to come next month with me and talk to you guys more in depth, because he will be able to provide you with a wealth of knowledge. I will say that for the Maryland Coastal Bays region, the top species that we're seeing that are really impacting the quality of our environment are, which I'm sure you guys know, are Phragmites. That's a huge salt marsh species that is taking over the fringes of our wetlands. Multiflora rose is a big one. A lot of people obviously love roses, love planting them in their gardens, but it is an invasive species that is a concern for us. We have it at several of our restoration sites, and we try to manage that. Japanese wisteria is completely overtaking forests. We always try to encourage landowners to avoid planting wisteria because it spreads very quickly and grows very quickly. And once it establishes itself in an environment, it is extremely hard to get rid of. We maintain and manage wisteria at 2 of our restoration sites, and every year we put a really good dent in it, and then it just comes back. So we've sprayed it, and normally spraying it will kill it and it'll stay out for a few years. But if you can't handle the properties or manage the properties surrounding your restoration site, then it just keeps infiltrating. So if there's one plant that I can ask people to never buy or plant, it is wisteria. It chokes out your trees, it smothers your ground species.
Well, you guys talk to nurseries, tell them don't sell that stuff?
So there's certain invasive species. There's a whole legislation that deals with invasive species, but there are several species that are illegal to sell in the state of Maryland. And there are several species that you have to have like a warning kind of, or like you have to state that they're non-native, because although they might not be considered invasive, they have invasive tendencies, so you have to be careful. But like that legislation is a very slow process, and it's hard to get species added to it. Another organization is the Department of Agriculture. And then one more, the Lower Eastern Shore, it's called a PRISM team, which is basically a collaboration of multiple organizations, state, federal, and nonprofits. And it's basically just to keep people or those organizations updated on potential new threats or potential invasive species that are entering the area, and then ways that you can promote awareness. So if you guys have heard of the spotted lanternfly, so that, to my knowledge, has not really touched down in Worcester County yet, but it is present on the Lower Eastern Shore, and it is very prevalent across the Bay Bridge. That is a huge threat to our native trees and species in our watershed if it touches down and establishes itself. So there's a lot of monitoring going on. There's a report website where if you see something, you kill it, you take a picture, you send it over to, I think, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and they will confirm whether or not it's a spotted lanternfly. They have several educational initiatives that warn people to check their cars, check their boats, clean their trailers before they move to another campsite or move to another watershed or whatnot. So there's a lot of information out there, but I just found this to be a really, really great resource for people in this area, because it provides you with a ton of information on what species to avoid, what species are the biggest threat to the Lower Eastern Shore region, and then ways to have a really healthy garden if that's something that you're interested in. And I know that that's a big thing around Ocean Pines, is having a beautiful, well landscaped, maintained lawn, but kind of steering away from that traditional monoculture of grass and switching more over to like a pollinator friendly yard is something that we really try to promote, and Lower Shoreland Trust promotes a lot. So yeah.
So I have a question about non-tidal wetlands. and removal of invasive species. Is it permissible to remove Phragmites and multifloral rose from those types of environments? Because you're disturbing. wetland
So,
areas.
yeah, so with wetlands, because they are, protected, it's, I don't want to say go out there and spray. I think you need a permission to spray chemicals. If it's like over a certain amount. I don't know all of the permitting or, like law,
Hmm.
like around it, but I do know that it's with certain management techniques, especially spraying. Because normally your spray kills everything, not just the target species, depending on what you're using. So, however much land you have and how you're planning on managing it, I think you either have to get permission or a permit. But
Well, there's open spaces in, controlled by ocean pines that have that vegetation there. So,
well, I
Yeah.
mean, and I know that there's a whole organization that manages everything in Ocean Pines with regards to like the gardens and lawns and whatnot. So I would imagine that they already have that in their program, that they have permission to do that. But if they don't, then they absolutely should get it.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like multiflora rose, we remove that on our properties all the time, wisteria. As long as you're not damaging other plants, like you can remove those without spraying. You can just do handful. And with Phragmites, you can't do a handful. You have to kind of either mow it down and then spray the roots, or you just have to do a big spray altogether. Those are really the only two options you have. Other species, especially on your lawn, you can do handful removal. I don't see that being an issue.
I emailed, I tried to, that's a big document.
It is,
And-
it's really big. It
And I
is.
tried to email out to you guys, I don't know, over a month ago. And I got a couple kickbacks, that it was too large, but I don't know, hopefully, I mean, you guys are getting my emails, right? Okay,
I just sent the link to you so you can send the link out to everybody.
yeah,
Yeah.
so, I mean, I think hopefully a few of those emails, they go through and you have the physical document that you can save or print.
I don't remember getting that document. I know I'm getting your emails because I got the, agenda, but
Yeah,
I don't remember.
it was an attachment, so,
Yeah, I
it's,
don't.
sometimes it went through, sometimes it didn't.
If you, 'cause it is a really big file to
Yeah.
send, so that's why I had the QR code up so you could scan it and download it, but also if you just type in Lower Shore Land Trust and go to their website, they have the initiatives, invasive species, and it has a ton of information. And it also tells you like how they can assist you with your property, what information they can provide you. They also have a section on pollinators. Ocean Pines isn't necessarily the community to do conservation easements just because you need properties of a certain size. But if you have friends or family or people that you know that have really large areas of land that they kind of want to preserve or protect, Lower Shore Land Trust can help put that into an easement and work with the landowner to have all of those guidelines kind of match what their goals are for the property. But yeah, so Jared can talk a lot more about this in the next meeting. I'll have like a smaller, different presentation that kind of talks more about the invasive species. I just didn't want to take too much time since that'll be a big topic for next month.
Okay, are you concluding, Carly?
I think so.
Okay, we're gonna have a jam-packed and chock-full meeting today, so hopefully you guys are good for a 2-hour meeting. We'll get in as much as we can in that time, or we might even have to carry over stuff. So, and you said you could stay.
Yeah, I'll be
So,
here.
so Carly is our technical expert for our meeting, okay? She's gonna be here because I have some other questions for you when we get into our business subjects,
Perfect.
okay?
Yeah.
Great,
This is all of our information, website, social media, my contact information. So feel free to reach out. I'll be happy to answer questions that you guys have. And if I don't know the answers, then I'll find someone who knows them.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was fantastic, Carly, your review. I really appreciate it. I think we all appreciate your presentation. Okay, so let's get into the meeting business. So with interaction with the Parks and Rec Committee, they said, yeah, that's a good idea. Go ahead and do it. So our committee is back on and leading that project that we talked about last year. And that was basically design some outdoor nature signs around the Route 90 pond or whatever. Coastal Pace said that they would help us out in the design of that. And I don't know, man, you can sit there if you want. And maybe manufacture or whatever. I guess we'll figure it out.
Yeah, so we can help with fact checking any of the information that you have on the signs. If you have any preliminary designs, we're more than happy to take a look at that and make any recommendations or suggestions on design. We can share with you some of the signs that we've made in the past, just to give you some inspiration on how to go about your design. And then I saw the list of topics that you guys had. I think those are really great. But yeah, and we can tell you who we go through. We go through Sun Signs in Berlin. They have pretty great deals and they've always produced really great signage for us. So I recommend them. But yeah, that's how we can help.
So that will be a budget item at some point, Jeff. Get Ocean Pines to pay for signs. Now, and by the way, the preliminary design stuff that Patty put together, I sent that all to Maryland Coastal Bay. So they have all that, what she did last year.
Yeah, and I guess my question, since I was working with Patty on that, is as far as getting the actual artwork done, is that something Sun Signs will do, or should we find an artist? I was thinking of maybe trying to partner with the Art League. You know,
Yeah.
see if they have some
That's a great idea.
nature, who want to
Yeah.
their pictures of.
I
They
think
draw
that's a
supply,
really,
no.
yeah, I think that's a really great idea. And I honestly, I love the fact of getting artists involved because it allows them to have an appreciation for the environment. Anytime that you can get outside groups that have different perspectives or different passions, if you can get them to become passionate about the environment in that way, I think that's great. We make a lot of our signs on Canva, which is what I had my presentation on. Canva is a really, really great resource. You can, if you have a pro account, you don't even need to pay for it, but we have a pro account with Maryland Coastal Bays, and you have access to a ton of graphic designing opportunities, and it's pretty easy and straightforward. So almost anyone can do it. I definitely recommend, if that's how you want to design it, or if you talk to the Art League and say, hey, we're thinking of using this, you can talk to them and see if they want to do more of an illustration with drawings. I think that would be a fantastic idea.
So I guess it's a matter of marrying all these things into a file that like a sign company can take a graphics file
So yeah, so what we do is we send
in design or something.
like a PNG of the final design. And then we kind of talk about, okay, well, this is where it's going to be placed. This is the material we want it made out of. If you need a sign post to go with it, and then what kind of sign post do you want? So all those things will influence your pricing. We normally do wooden posts, and then we just attach the sign to it at an angle, which is fairly cheap. And they'll cut it for you so that you don't have to worry about it. They can do install too. We normally do the install just to save money, and we know how to do it, but yeah.
And most likely Public Works would to save money and
Right.
Ocean Pines or whatever,
Mhm.
do some of the physical labor. Okay, Patricia,
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of deciding how many signs and what should be on the signs. How many can we afford,
How big you want them to.
Yeah, and where to place them. So there's still a lot to do on that.
now the Rec Park Committee said they would help with this. It's sort of a parks concept too. So I think, so we'll, as we roll into this over the next few months, we'll interact with whoever can help out on that somehow, whatever help they can do you know, so we can, you know, we'll share the work here around several people.
Yeah, the only signs that I'm aware of that are in ocean pines now, there's a few around the Southgate Pond, you know, about what species you might find in the water. Don't feed the geese, you know, just so I'm just, I don't know if are there others in ocean pines that I've missed? Are there other?
Signs.
Yeah, like
No.
around any of the other big ponds. Like,
Do you, Jenny, does the park did that hidden pond thing? Does that have any signs? Do you know?
No,
Okay.
not interpretive type signage,
Okay.
no.
So, I mean, I think this will be, you know, we take on a certain level project. If it's successful, it'll be something that we could expand on to the next nature trail or whatever. I mean, even like the Robin Hood Trail, I think could use some signs on it eventually, you know, at some point in time.
yeah, although that's kind of I mean, you're going through backyards half most of the time on that trail.
Well, I don't, you know, there's lots of trees there. There's some big trees. Not a lot of signs, maybe, you know, something. I know that one of those drainage ditches, I've seen turtles in them. So it's like, hey, you know, look over the edge, see if you can see turtles or something like that.
Yeah, and the biggest thing that I've really learned with developing signage is that you don't want it to have too much verbiage or too much wording on it because that can like overwhelm people. And then like you want it to be you want kids to be able to look at it and just get some grasp or understanding of what the sign is presenting. So even if it's just like, oh, I know that bird, or oh, I've seen this turtle, or making it for all ages and keeping the wording to like a basic level is like a
Third grade level. Or
yeah,
something.
because most people read at a 6th grade level.
Oh,
So
okay.
having it around there is appropriate. You know, some people don't even know what brackish water is or what a watershed is. So you have to just be really careful with your wording. And that's something that we can help you with when you're going through your sign.
Yeah, we were thinking that we would also refer people like with QR codes
Yeah.
to like the Merlin, so you can
Mhm.
identify
Yeah.
by sound and
Yeah.
you know, picture this or whatever for the plants.
Yeah, that's great. Any way to
Just-
get them involved and like to learn, I think that's a great idea. Yeah.
Great.
So Patricia, are you the lead? on that?
I think Patty is still the lead,
Okay.
yeah, but when she gets back, we'll get together and sort of make a plan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, start diving into it and we'll see where you go. And like I said, we've got other help with that too.
What we don't have is a budget.
Correct.
So what I would recommend is, you know, when you get very specific on what you need
Mhm.
for each of these initiatives, create a charging document.
Okay,
Mhm.
You send it through Tim, through me, and then to the board.
got it.
Well,
Thanks, Jeff.
do you, Patricia, you know what a charging document
I
is?
can
but
send, I can send it.
I
to
can
you.
figure it out.
I'll send you a blank charging document.
Okay, thanks.
And just to give you an idea of like cost, so we purchased 2 interpretive signs for horseshoe crabs and we put them out at the Oceanic and then Sunset Island Community. And the signs were, I think, 2 feet by 3 feet. So they were pretty big size. And then we also got wooden posts for them as well. And they were made with this material that wouldn't succumb to salt water because they were going to be right by the bays. And each of those signs was about 200. So you're going to have much smaller signs than 2 feet by 3
Oh, yeah,
feet.
yeah.
And you're only going to need probably 1 wooden post or whatever kind of post you want. So the signs might be closer to like 100 each, you know?
That's probably, yeah, we don't want to overwhelm the.
Yeah.
It's not a big, very wide trail. so,
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for your help with that.
What were your signs made out of as far as the description portion of it?
I wish I could tell you. I think it's like some type of plastic material, but it's able to withstand like UV wear and tear, and then salt water were the 2 big things that we were worried about because they're outside.
Okay. All right, so next subject, that's about 8 Florence. Patricia brought that up last year. And yeah, I don't know if you want to say anything about that.
Oh, well, the reason I brought it up was also just to lead people to the resources that the Maryland Department of Natural Resources has.
Mhm.
We had the mast year for acorns and other, seed bearing things this last year. I don't know that you don't usually have 2 mast years in a row. And that might be something to, encourage. I don't know how many school children we have in the Pines, but it could be a project. I don't really know that, it involves, you have to have cloth sacks to collect them in. But the other thing was just to make people aware of the tree sapling programs that they have, like Brian was talking about, what you got for your yard from, and, I'm not sure
Yeah.
that's a project, it's an awareness thing.
Right. And it's great that the Gazette article actually touched on that. Hopefully what they said there was accurate. I don't know. Did you read that article, Brian?
Yeah.
Okay. Was that true? What was stated?
Yeah, but I think there's a limit.
Yeah. Okay.
When I got there, she said something like, "Oh, you're the next last one." I said, "Oh." I didn't know there was a limit.
But the larger initiative was called 5 million trees for you. They had a 5-year program to get people to plant native species, and you could still buy them at a discount from Bluebird.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think so we're going to talk about the Expo kickoff day, and I think that particular subject can be illustrated somehow in handouts. So it would be an educational topic we want to emphasize. I think it'd be good for that, right? Okay. Turtle sanctuaries. Okay, I think Patty is still trying to work on a statement from the committee that will go to Jeff and to have it address that. Viola briefly mentioned that at the board meeting. So I'm not sure what he had in mind for turtles. But yeah, again, that's just something we want to get out there. And again, our idea right now is like, of one of the trees the Public Works cuts down, just take the tree log and put it next to the shoreline. That's no cost to Ocean Pines, and you don't have to grind it up. So, okay. Green Street article topic. We did not have, I kind of missed it, or I wasn't notified or whatever. We missed the winter version. It probably is okay. But I did get for the next spring newsletter for Ocean Pines, I got the information from John about pond algae. I sort of recompressed it to fit in for the newsletter. So that is ready. I've already sent that to Josh. And he's got that to put in our next newsletter. And we also have a nice photo of the Northgate Pond with the big floating algae on it, Matt algae. And so that'll be there.
Yep.
So we've got some time before we need to worry about the next article. But I'll keep you guys updated on that.
And that's the article that I
Yeah.
and also called some craft force.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think, we got to remind people to, every couple years or whatever, put another article out there on that subject, and including, don't dump your lawn waste into the canal. Okay. Please don't do that. So
You can see this isn't here. I added this at the end of the article. This is in Minnesota, believe it or not, and you can see all the algae, and it's all because they put their grass clippings into the sewer water and that went into the pond, and that's what they got. That's cold water.
Yeah.
It's amazing what it can do.
okay, next subject is the Ocean Pines Day kickoff event. Okay, this is, I think, very important for us as a group. And what I think all of us need to participate in this thing in some way or another. Right now, so I gave you, so I'm also I'm attending the work group meetings that the work group on the Ocean Pines kickoff event is doing. So I'm participating with them. We just had a meeting on Monday. And so I've given you this little card Like everybody has
I
one.
didn't get one.
There you go. And so what I want you to do with this card is to, as they say, what is it? Pay it forward. Is that the saying? I want you to pay it forward. I want you to take this card because you already know about it. You don't need this. I want you to give this to somebody else. If it's Linda Yerke was saying, give it to a local business. Let them know about it because this event is not only, it's to advertise the amenities, all the advisory committees. Also hopefully this is working out. It's a joint effort with the Worcester County Chamber of Commerce in Ocean Pines. Okay. That because they do typically they do an expo event every year. The timing is to coincide. I think when we have those two entities together, it's going to be a huge draw for the community because there's so much to see there. It's not only all the businesses that are participating, it's all the Ocean Pine organizations. They're going to have food trucks. There's going to be Dunka board member thing out there. So I think Jeff's going to. So this is your chance to get back at Jeff. A whole bunch of stuff. It's amazing. Food trucks, beer trucks. It's going to be fabulous. I hopefully.
So this is like 2 weeks before Bay Day? Or-
Yes.
Okay.
Wow, it's always around there.
No, Bay Day is not.
No, Earth Day.
Oh, Earth Day is 22nd of
It's the
April.
22nd.
Yeah. So it sort of
There you go.
coincides with the Earth Day thing.
I mean, I know that Bay Day is different from this, but it seems, stacking things within a 2 week period might be kind of,
Well, it's more like 3 weeks, but
yeah.
that's what Ocean Pines is doing. But I think that'll be an excellent opportunity for us to educate, not only talk about what our committee does, but also to educate on several subjects. And to have an assortment of handouts. I'm trying, it looks like whatever handout stacks that we have, maybe if we have like 3 handouts, double side color, maybe a stack of 100 pages each. It sounds like Ocean Pines will let us, will give us the copies for that. They will also maybe have some kind of, yard sign out there for everybody. And it sounds like we'll get that supplied by Ocean Pines through their vendor.
Does this get posted on social media?
Yes, it will.
Right, it's been posted. I guess it's a separate committee that's running this whole thing, right?
The work group, yeah.
Your work.
It's an ad hoc advisory committee.
Where was it posted?
I've seen it. I've seen it on my Facebook feed.
Okay.
And I don't know if it was from the association or from.
Okay.
I mean, they're trying to get some things nailed down now, so I think there'll be more information soon. I don't know. I think they will have some kind of a Facebook site, but I mean, you could email and ask questions.
Is the lead agent on this the Chamber of Commerce thing?
Not really.
It's this ad hoc committee.
Yeah, it's really Ocean Pines. But because it's joining with the chamber, and there's still a little bit of contention there between these two groups, because of the name change of the chamber or whatever. But we can pray that these people put their differences aside and work together in a cooperative way. And I mean, it does look like it's going to happen like that. The businesses will be here, but I think the finer details haven't been worked out yet. There's a lot of work to do that the work group is going. They're going to have the Pines Chorus or whatever out here singing. I think there's going to be a DJ. I mean, it's amazing. So, I mean, and then Coastal Bay may have their own table out there.
Yeah, that sounds like a great event.
Yeah, I wonder who coordinates the location of the committee as opposed to Coastal Bay. I'm not sure if Zinkowski will be here, but it seems like we should be in that row rather than be separate from,
Yeah,
you know.
well, yeah, these guys have to work it out.
There's the marine-
Is there going to be a section of advisory committees? Or will they put us next to Coastal Bay? As like the environmental people corner and,
Marine Committee, Parks and Rec, and that could kind of be grouped together.
Yes.
I mean, we overlap so much.
yeah, I mean, in other words, the bylaw committee will have a thing here. Yeah. So, okay, what do you do with a bylaw?
Administration building.
I was thinking they could dress somebody up like a lawyer. And he could like read from the bylaws.
They're
Like a
done tech.
lawyer. Wonder what he's wearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, it won't be blue jeans, but
Just, do we have somebody on this committee that's sort of taking the lead on it? Is it you?
no, well, I guess what I'm saying is, I need somebody else to step up for that because I'm going to help. I'll definitely be a part of it, but I guess I'd like to ask for a leader on this project.
Not me.
I mean, you're gonna have help, but I need somebody to be the spearhead.
And I really don't mean to be flip. I'm just, I'm also on the board of the Worcester County Humane Society. I do a lot for them. I volunteer for them. And our board walking for pets is going to be either one of these two dates, the April 20th or April 27th. I'm not sure which yet because I haven't heard from the fundraising committee, but I can't volunteer my time here because I will be there.
Well, again, and just by the way, Patricia, the sign thing, I mean, that's not something that you have to work on right now, okay? Just to put a thought in your head. But I think this is significant for our committee. And
So if we're going to participate in this kickoff thing, maybe we skip doing something at Bay Day because that's would be kind of just repetitive. We were on the program for Bay Day last year, but we had no table there.
We've never really done anything as a committee for Bay Day. It was just Sharon and I specifically
Right,
about
just-
geese.
Mhm.
But the committee as a whole has never had a table there.
Right.
But we're gonna have so much put together for the expo event that we just need to duplicate, or not even to a lesser degree for Bay Day. Right?
That'd be my thought.
So we will have all the stuff. It's just a matter of being there.
Act two.
Yeah.
You know, so.
I mean,
I would help. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to take the lead, but I would help someone that's familiar with the process here, since it's my first year on the committee. And I just one of the questions, who's going to be here on April 20th?
well, I will. I'll be around. I mean, I actually, I might be at another table for a little bit too. But I mean, this is no joke, no question. This is going to happen somehow. We're going to be doing something here. Like for handout topics, I'm thinking, one page could have our strategic plan and then the list of accomplishments on the backside of it. Another page could have, what can you do in your community? And we're going to say that, use paper leaf bags, do plugging, recycling, mulch your grass cuttings, and whatever. I listed some subjects down here.
So let's see, we have our April meeting the Wednesday before the kickoff event. I mean, I can't say I can take the lead, but I can be here for it and help. I just
Yeah.
I've only got 2 months, so that's got a busy couple of months.
Okay. Ryan, I have an assignment for you.
Okay.
One of the ideas I have is to have some kind of a video presentation at our table. We can get electric to have like some kind of a monitor up there that plays a loop of environmental stuff. So you would need to do, you said you had like video.
Editing equipment, yes.
Okay. So the idea would be to.
We have the content? Do we have? stuff?
No, we got to make it
Okay.
somehow. And I mean, even you know,
We could do a presentation on, ocean pines, what are our natural assets?
well, that, yeah,
Go around,
yeah,
What do you
that,
say?
that, I would
ponds,
say
trails.
show somebody doing plugging, which is, when you hike, you pick up garbage, just, and then I was thinking, that if you're out there with your wife, what your wife would say, oh, look, honey, I just found $20, to motivate people.
Look, I just found that a beer can. I like it. Cigarette butts for everyone.
So, here's your chance to be a, movie director, Brian.
All right, I'll help you with that. Maybe.
So the
Scripted.
topic would be, first of all, what are the assets?
Well, yeah,
What we can do.
yeah, the trees, highlight, what are our better forested sections of ocean pines, the shorelines, it could be, even like a 20-second clip of somebody walking along the canals, just kind of talking about, we can't be dumping our yard waste into the canal because it's going to promote algae growth, and it's going to, deplete the oxygen or whatever. You could probably, obviously you can get online. Carly, what are you thinking right now as far as how we could create some kind of a video?
It's definitely promoting the natural spaces that exist in ocean pines and encouraging people to be stewards of their
Yeah.
community. You kind of want to have it set in a positive connotation. So you want to avoid things like, don't do this or don't do that, or this isn't good, or instead being like, when you do this, this is how you are helping your environment. Or, when you are cleaning up or leaving no trace, this is how you're improving your environment. When you mulch your grass, this is how you're reducing impacts to water quality. So you want to make sure that you're setting it in a positive light, because a lot of times people get like a natural guilt over, or they get overwhelmed at the fact, well, I'm just one person, how can I really make a difference? So just making it very clear, keeping it very simple, and kind of just stating, when you do this, this is how it helps. When you pick up your trash, this is how you're helping keep your environment clean. So you kind of just want to avoid the like, don't do this kind of thing and accusatory,
Voice instead of Jones.
Yeah. And then just having like a basic statement that anyone can understand and appreciate. Like, it makes my community more beautiful. It keeps my community clean. It helps improve the water quality. Whatever the simple outcome is, people can just immediately understand, like, oh, okay, that's simple enough. So, and then like things that they can do around the yard, I don't know what your homeowners association requires for you maintaining your lawns and whatnot, but if do you guys have to rake your leaves? That's what I figured. That's a big thing.
Out of
that I
the
would
ditch.
love to-
Well, they encourage it, and then if you do it, you can bag it or stack it, or you have to bag it, and then Republic will pick it up on certain days. But as you know, Ocean Pines stopped doing the leaf pickup all around the.
It's better to not rake at all, isn't it?
to leave the
I've been
leaves.
trying to convince my dad to do
Yeah.
that too.
Leaving the leaves is really important for insect habitat. And it's also, there's really, I don't believe there's evidence that shows it hurts your lawn. Because it breaks down. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just adds nutrients to your lawn. So,
right,
leaving the leaves is a big thing for me.
I mean,
personally.
Think about all the people that are paying all these, landscape people, all that money because they've got to clear their lawn. And it's like, oh, I don't have to pick up the leaves. I'll save all that money.
Yeah.
And that would be, I think, the slant of that particular video.
And anytime you can relate things to money and saving money, because money talks,
Yeah.
you're not gonna, I'm not gonna say you're never, but it's more likely that you're gonna convince somebody to make a change because they're gonna have a benefit, whether it's saving money or time or effort, versus just being like, okay, it's gonna help the environment. So
What's in it for them?
right. And unfortunately, that's just the world that we live in. But a lot of the times when you present it in a different perspective, like the economic benefits to you, alongside, like you do a dual benefit, where it, it helps you and the environment, more people are going to be able to like, okay, well, I'll save money. I won't pay this company to come out and bag all my leaves or rake my lawn or, whatever. So that's another great way for people with different perspectives to understand it.
So, can I ask, is moss a good thing? I've been trying to just cultivate a moss lawn instead of growing grass because I have no sun. And it's working pretty well. You have to rake a little. You can't leave leaves.
I mean, I don't see moss being bad.
You don't have to mow it.
Yeah. I mean, once again, I've seen people, I've seen on like social media and whatnot, people just completely uprooting their lawns with the grass. And most of the times that the grass that's on their lawns isn't native. So it's already an issue, but it also provides zero habitat. And then, if they plant something like a pollinator garden or they have native grasses, and then also mowing is a big thing too. You don't want to mow your grass below 3 inches. You want to keep it 3 inches or taller if you can, just because it works better for you and your lawn. And then there's different times of days where they recommend using like your sprinklers, because it helps the plants in your garden or on your property absorb and hold the water more, so you don't have to continuously water. There's a lot of information out there that landowners can take advantage of. And it's just simple things like watering your garden in the afternoon versus the early morning, or
Well,
and I know that that's a ton of information, but just really sticking to like five basic things, whether it's you want to focus on what they can do around their house.
Well, let me ask you, on your website, do you have any little videos on there now?
So we have a YouTube channel. And we have links that are for our oyster gardeners. We have a horseshoe crab training video. I'm trying to think of the other videos that we have. We have a couple of different educational videos, but we don't really have anything specifically addressing like landscaping or lawn care and maintenance. We are currently working on updating our homeowner's guide, which is this huge document that we produced a couple of decades ago.
I have the original.
Yeah.
One. It's very helpful.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great information. It's severely outdated. And there's information in there and statistics that are just outdated. So we're working on freshening it up, including more information about like composting, what plants to grow with what plants. So, there's certain plant species that work with others better by just naturally repelling insects or stuff like that.
Well, what I was hoping that there could be something that we could see on there and then maybe try to copy it. Not literally, but to reenact it in Ocean Pines, but that might not fit.
Yeah, I think.
I'll look at them. Yeah.
So, but you could look at that, you can get ideas from. But I mean, it's also, I think, to highlight, what we residents can participate in, picking up trash. I mean, one of the cost saving things is mulch your grass with your mower, and you don't have to pay for fertilizer. It's an excellent nutrient that gets built back into your lawn. That maybe just kind of highlight that particular thing. That may be on one of our handout topics, but potentially I could be in the video. I'm not saying that to definitely do that, but
I think just
Brian,
having a focus is really for your video. If you want to focus on the community as a whole, making people aware of the natural spaces that exist and maybe the issues that people have noticed, whether it's littering or, what have you, and just stating a basic, simple way that people can relate to how they can improve that or how they as an individual can fix that. And if you want to focus on a video that pertains more to people and what they can do in and around their home, then focus on that, but don't do too much at once, because then you're going to lose people.
I mean, well, for one thing, do you think you could provide a monitoring equipment and a computer to do this, to have it at the table?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
and obviously people are not going to be standing there for, in half an hour watching this. So it wouldn't be that long, but it would be some kind of I don't know, maybe a 15-minute loop of a couple different things. It could, like, for example, the other thing I was thinking, maybe it could even be somebody goes over to the ghost trees at Colonial Village, and somebody talks about, hey, look, we have this problem. We want to do this. A 2-minute video clip of that. Things like that, whatever. And just something to, I think, as an attractive exhibit that'll help draw people to the table. They can get other information and they can watch that if they want to, kind of idea. Okay, so you'll take that focus. I mean, right. So what I'm going to do otherwise is I'm going to assign you guys some stuff to do. Okay. All right. Does anybody object to that? All right. I don't see the bright faces right now. Everybody's giving me sad looks. But you're on the committee. Are you ready to go? Do I hear a yay?
You want to take the lead on the committee
If you want.
under your tutelage?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So you already got a video going on.
Yeah.
You have ideas for handouts?
Yeah. Yeah.
I have my own ideas.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We have a board member who has oyster cages
Yeah.
to be.
He said he was going to bring one.
Not only that, my whole front yard is gonna be a pollinator garden. I have no grass.
Either do I.
And we have 3 regular meetings like this to plan for it. And we'll carry it on to Bay Day the following month. to
Yeah.
make our life
I don't
easier.
think this is going to be an overwhelming thing. I think we can it's just putting together some handout information, some exhibit information. We're going to have our fish line tube there that Patty put together. We'll have an oyster thing, whatever. I mean, it's this, so we'll work together on that time.
And one of the other things that we should look at is, volunteer opportunities. And oystering is
Yeah.
one, picking up litter is another. There's probably other things here if we get into invasive species and invasive species removal. And, in coordination with those, with coastal bays, I guess ask the Coastal Trust if they have water sampling issues as well. So try to integrate those volunteer opportunities and stimulate some.
That could be a
Volunteers.
handout. A handout could focus on the volunteer
Yeah.
opportunities.
Yeah.
And I mean, if Coastal Bays is able to make it to this, then obviously we'll have all those volunteer opportunities at our table as well.
Right.
But yeah, if you want to promote the opportunities that we offer, that would be great. I also forgot, we do have a video that we made a few years ago for Maryland Coastal Bays, and there's no like talking involved, there's just sound in the background. But it's a really great video that showcases and highlights the restoration properties that we have, the work that we do as an organization. It's just a really great summary where people can watch it and there isn't anyone talking to you, but you understand what's happening in the video. Like, you understand the impact. There's a lot of really great, beautiful landscape photos, video footage of us doing work with volunteers. So you don't always have to have a ton of information on loop. You can just be a slideshow of really great outdoor places to take advantage of in Ocean Pines too. So it's whatever the message you're trying to deliver.
And Jenny,
On the same website.
It should be on our YouTube page. Yeah.
the bylaws don't, restrict you. You could help on this in any way too.
Okay.
I don't think, I'm not doing any legal violations if you were to help on this in whatever way. Including, hypothetically sitting at the table to talk to people in case we don't have somebody sitting there at the moment. So whatever you would like to do, let me know. Okay, does that sound exciting? I still see sad faces. All right. Are you good? You ready? All right. I just hear quiet. Let me know. Well, how do you feel? You're just looking at me. Come on,
I'm excited.
yeah. Harley's
I mean, I'm not
excited.
taking on any responsibility here, but I'm excited.
This is the consensus idea. Come on, I know you're intelligent people, so what, do you think this is something really good for us to do?
You're talking about this particular meeting or
The,
event.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, got a yay from,
Yeah.
the man.
Yes.
Brian is getting excited about the video thing. Karen, how do you feel?
I hate to bring negativity, but as someone
Bring it
who's participated in Bay Day, it's not as easy as you think.
Okay,
It's hard talking to the people
okay.
because we had actually, when Sharon and I have run the tables, educating people about geese, it's apparently a very controversial topic.
Right.
And we ended up with a lot of negativity.
Yeah.
We ended up with a lot of positivity too, but it's difficult talking to people for several hours.
Well, maybe we can minimize the geese thing, so it's not, we're not.
Well,
creating
about
conflict.
anything, it's difficult talking to a wide range of people
Yeah.
for several hours because you never know what people are going to bring up when they come up to the table.
Well, I think one way to handle that is nobody's not stuck there for 4 hours continuously. And also it'll be handouts. So hopefully we don't have to explain a lot of stuff. We can say, here, read this.
Well, that's another thing. People don't want handouts.
Yeah, that's why I think we need to have also like QR codes. So
Yeah.
can
People
find
like
it.
gifts, like we ended up after our experience the first time, we ended up making like little stickers and activity things because we were mainly targeting children. And people took those much more readily. They are not interested in informational handouts.
I found that last year I did a person to the Neural Station, which was a new thing. Postal Base. And I think if you have something that's hands-on that people
Yes.
can do,
Yeah.
it's much more engaging, especially with kids. So we probably should think of something.
Yeah, I think the video loop is a great idea because that does draw people's
Beer
attention.
can toss.
I
Beer can.
like that.
Well, thank you,
Stop your
Karen. I
kids.
really seriously, I needed that insight into how this is gonna happen. And then maybe not, have a huge stack of handouts there, but try to, interact in another way.
Instead of a bunch of handouts, maybe we come up with something
Like
that's
examples
one piece,
or
or one thing that we can give people that tells what this committee does. or Something.
Well, that was the strategic plan with the list of accomplishments, because again, it's to highlight what the committee does to encourage future committee participation. So that we are doing stuff. We're not just planting, the rose plants in the ground. We're doing a lot of other stuff. And then we want to list that too, because I'm hoping that the Bayside picks up on our committee's work more often. I think that article that came out was very important. And we need more positive hits like that instead of the committee wants to kill geese kind of article. Okay, so.
I'm interested or surprised at your experience there. One Bay Day, I'm not sure where you were, but I was there with Sharon.
Yeah, because I couldn't go.
And I found it to be a very positive experience. I mean, we had people come up to us that didn't really understand the issues related to the
That's
geese.
true. A lot of it was.
And,
but-
right, I mean, people were it was very positive. Now, I didn't stay the whole time. I think Sharon's husband actually replaced me, came in, but I thought it was just great. My question about this is, who is the target audience for this?
Residents,
Whole community.
So it's Ocean Pines.
yes, residents.
Presenting to Ocean Pines.
Yeah.
So this is not necessarily going to be something that is going to be marketed to people in Snow Hill
No.
or
No.
Kokomoke or any other place in Worcester County.
Ocean Pines and I guess bordering, maybe some River Run people will be over here,
Okay.
and whatever.
But it's primarily Ocean Pines.
Yeah.
Selling itself to,
And the business is selling itself to the
Yeah.
residents so
Yeah.
that they can generate more interest in their business.
okay.
Okay?
One thing that might be a great way to interact with people is like at certain events that we do at schools or different tabling events, we'll have a poster board and we'll have sticky notes and a bunch of different color Sharpies. And we'll just have one question that we ask people, whether it's how are you a steward of your environment? Or what do you feel is the biggest issue that you're noticing in your environment? Or, you know, whatever it is, because it gets people thinking, it gets them involved, and then they can write their answer on the sticky note and post it on the board, and then they can see what everyone else's responses are. And you can kind of touch on what they're saying and relate it to Ocean Pines or relate it to an issue that you're addressing as a committee. That's a really great way to kind of see what they're seeing and understand everyone's perspectives. And then you can kind of be like, oh, I see that you wrote, you're noticing a lot of littering. Well, what do you think can be done about that? Or how do you feel you can provide a solution to this? Or, you know, there's several other people who wrote that. So, you know, you have the same perspective as them. So it's a great way to get people.
Are you gonna do that at Bay Day?
I do boat tours at Bay Day normally. I'm on a boat all day. I do the Bay Hopper boat
Well,
tours.
well, are they,
But
are
normally,
they gonna do that?
so we run the event. So I'm trying to think of Coastal Bays has a set table because we're kind of sponsors of the event too, or not sponsors.
Well,
but
okay,
partners,
yeah, I mean,
so-
I think that's a good
Yeah,
idea.
They do at the, right near the entrance. You know?
Right, when we're, oh, you're right. We have our t-shirts and our swag, and then we have all of our pamphlets. We don't normally do something like that at Bay
Okay.
Day.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's a good idea. I'm asking because I don't want to duplicate.
No. I don't think we haven't done anything like that. Normally we have 2 or 3 people at our table right at the entrance, and we have all of our like swag and clothing that people can buy, and then we have just all of the information, handouts and stickers and boards. So we don't normally do that.
Okay, well, I think that's a good idea. That's a really good, that'll help solve the problem that Karen talked about.
Mhm.
And I don't know, would it be a whiteboard that we have?
Yeah, you just, you know, those like the fold ones that you can get at like Staples or something. And then you can just use sticky notes and
Yeah.
people just write down like what they think. And then you're like, all right, post it on the board, and then you can see what other people in your community think.
Okay, that's good. That's a good one. All right,
And I just had an idea, you know, with you talk about the kids and the kids game, that draws the kids and draws the parents over as well, but why not have a drawing for, you put your name in a hat, and you get a free grabber, you know,
Oh.
select the name for a grabber, so, yeah.
Trash
or-
wrapper. Good
Yeah,
idea.
or something,
Bucket brigade, yeah.
Yeah.
A bucket and a picker. Yeah.
yeah, something that
That's an
they
idea.
can use as a volunteer, you know.
well, okay, we'll have to, we could probably charge Ocean Pines for that, or we'll give them a list of items we need purchased, but you know, we don't have an unlimited budget. What is our budget, like $25 or something?
I would contribute a grabber. I would contribute a grabber.
Get a bucket for $5
Yeah.
at the depot, you know.
Okay, all right, well, that's a good, all right, well, Don, we'll work together on that. That sounds good. All right, next subject. Patricia put in a statement on yard waste disposal to help encourage recycling, and we're gonna talk about what you saw, John, in a minute. In the contract with Republic, I did not get any feedback. This is one of the outstanding issue things. I don't know, Patricia, do you have a comment on that?
Well, I think there's a real communication issue because I just walking through my neighborhood, I see a lot of people that have leaves raked to the curb. They didn't get I don't know, maybe we take this up with the communication committee. I didn't, you know, even though if you sign up for the emails, you get this information. I don't think it's widely known that there's no more leaf truck.
Jeff, what do you think?
Well, my opinion is it's gonna take more than one cycle.
Yeah.
Because you're right, all the information hasn't filtered down to everybody yet. And it's an issue,
Yes.
but it's one that we're trying to get the word out, and we just gotta keep talking.
Yeah, I guess the other thing that most concerns me is the decision on not having the maintenance yard open ever on weekends. A part-time resident here So I have to arrange to come down here, be here on a Wednesday, so I can take, I have, lots of tree branches. I can't give those to Republic that have fallen in the storms. So, I mean, that to me is still an issue of making it easy for homeowners to keep their properties neat. It's not gonna be easy now, I don't think. With no leaf pickup and limited access to the maintenance yard.
I had a truckload of leaves to take over there last Wednesday,
Mhm.
and a big sign said yard closed when I got there. And I'm saying, after I was told only Wednesday, I went in anyway and waited for it. And I was able to dump my stuff.
You have a sticker?
Yeah, I have a sticker.
Because that was the
But
other
I'm
question.
curious why there's a big sign there.
Are the stickers from last year still good? Because I wasn't clear about that.
Yeah.
I think you had to sign up this year for new, because it's 2023 on. Or-
Yeah.
I think- Oh, you know what? You're right.
Because
I got mine done. Yeah, you're right.
so I got a sticker for last year and now it.
April, she said, or something like that. The 20.
And then the other question is, and are we going to have to pay for new stickers? So then we're gonna have to pay for access? These are questions that I think we need to maybe, get to the board. It's not clear. But I am disappointed that we continued with a company that doesn't recycle yard waste.
Well, as far as that issue, I mean, it's clear that there is a communication problem. Trying to work, and it's not so much the board, it's also the administration. And it kind of goes into a black hole. And other committees express similar frustrations. And that's not something we're going to fix. That's just the way it is. And to, adjust your expectations to that situation. But
And I'll find out, but I'm not quite sure any of those other refuge companies that bid on it recycle either.
right. Yeah, no, that's a,
So does OPA, like when you take it to public
Yes,
we
works,
it was in Tim's notes that they do take it.
they
someplace.
go to Frankfurt, Delaware,
Yeah.
but is that recycling? Is that,
well, John, so John did some sleuthing.
Okay.
And he went over to the yard and they do have this huge pile over there
Yeah.
from all this accumulation of stuff. And then apparently they transport it to Frankfurt.
Well, I talked with them about it and told them, why we were concerned. We wanted to know what was going on. And that's how I found out about the Delaware.
so they take it to Frankfurt and what happens in Frankfurt?
Well, I know they can turn branches and things into mulch.
Yeah.
I don't know about leaves.
All right.
Yes, not, I guess to me it's not handled around here. They have to take it out of state into Delaware.
I moved from Delaware. They have a pretty big statewide program of yard waste
Yeah.
recycling in a lot of different spots. So they're probably better equipped to do it, I guess.
Yes.
So it,
So the big deal is putting it in the trucks and getting it up there and then having to, empty the trucks and they come back and it's out of Ocean Pines mine.
so it sounds like did you say that there is some recycling of that or do you, as far as you can tell?
Yes,
Okay,
that's what I was told. I haven't been there, okay? I was
Right.
just told what they thought.
okay. So I guess that's a good thing that at least there is an attempt there.
Yeah, well, if you
to-
think about it, for collecting all of that waste, that's the best way to handle it.
Okay, all right. Well, again, for these issues, I'm going to update them and what's really important is the fishing line tube issue is something we really need feedback on. Can we get that, put them around the pond?
Is it for recycling fishing line?
Yes.
Okay, we ran a similar program throughout Ocean City where we put up a bunch of tubes for recycling fishing line. And it might work better in your community, but we had to stop the program because people were just putting trash in it. And then you'd have to, like, volunteers would go out and collect what was in those pipes. And they'd have to sort through the trash and the lines, and it just got really messy.
Well, I would joke that you could also get candy wrappers in there. So,
Yeah.
and that's okay. At least because the stuff is not tangled up in some bush someplace.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's a good thing. And I think that's our first objective, is just to get it out of the environment so that when we do empty those tubes, so at least we can get it into a trash bag.
Definitely.
I mean, if we can have, pure line, okay, we can get that recycled, but otherwise we get it out of the environment.
There's also a company that turned cigarette butts into benches.
Right.
So you can recycle cigarette butts and you can buy what's called a butt hut. And Coastal Base actually implemented a few butt huts around Ocean City Boardwalk, and we established a few benches. So I heard you talking about cigarette butts being an issue. If that's something that you wanted to take into consideration as well, they are recyclable through this company. And then you could use it to get benches in the Ocean Heights.
Yeah,
Well-
they have plastic in it. People don't realize that.
I don't think it's such a, I don't know if that is a particular problem on our trails or the ponds or whatever, is it?
I think it is. I mean, I just walked around the Southgate Pond yesterday and along Ocean Parkway, especially along the Southgate entrance. Cigarette butts everywhere.
Okay.
I just didn't know that many people still smoked, but
Yeah.
I really did too. Yes, yeah, and I also at the yacht club, if you remember last year, I did that article about the guy that picks up trash there. And if you go up there and those in between all the pavers, there's cigarette butts stuck everywhere.
Yeah, because even like from a hygiene perspective, you don't want to touch cigarette butt. I mean, I understand you should
Put
wear
glove on,
gloves
yeah.
and whatnot, but so.
Well, we'll keep that in mind as something that we'll try to address at some point.
I think people don't think that they're polluting when they
Right.
put their cigarette butt out.
It somehow it
Yeah.
dissolves into the environment, but, well, that's how long, that problem's been going on since they, started to create filters. So, I don't know, 100 years ago, but,
Get rid of filters.
I think
Wow. Yeah, no.
they just don't care.
It's just become
roll
so
your own,
normal.
Yeah.
It's become such a normal thing that people don't think twice about it.
Yeah.
I think that's a future thing, even if it's just putting up a couple tubes, at the worst spots and then we do the same thing.
Maybe as part of our educational day, the kickoff, I'll go around and walk around the pond, and I'll probably come up with a big plastic bag full, and of course it'll have to be plastic so you can see through it, of cigarette butts, just to demonstrate
Yeah,
what the
seriously, I
problem
think that would
is.
get to
I
people.
volunteered to do that, if people think that would be helpful.
I think that would be pretty eye-opening.
I
The
think so
cigarette butt
too.
Demonstration, I got that.
Yeah, or even if it's like just trash in general, just being like, look at all of the things.
Yeah.
It just from walking around for 20 minutes or
Yeah,
whatever. all the things
Yeah,
that
be
are-
sure and wear gloves.
Yeah.
Yeah, wear gloves when you pick
Yeah,
them
I
up.
will certainly wear gloves, but it's just disappointing to see, in our community that people don't care. But it's not, got vendors coming through, work trucks all the time, and it's not their community, so maybe they don't care.
All right. Okay, so there's really 3 items here. It's the fishing line tubes, new trees in Wet Horse Park. Again, I have no clue.
I got an update on that.
Oh, okay, good.
So I talked to John, our general manager, and they are going to plant native pine trees or other native type trees. And he made it very clear, if this committee has specific tree requirements and placement ideas, just tell them.
What, does he have a copy of the statement I made, back in, August?
I would use the charging document. And if you really you're passionate about, hey, we need trees on the corner over here, wherever, put it on the charging document. And John will take that advice and he'll.
Okay, I mean, I looked up native trees, so I've got a list. So,
Yeah, because I keep bringing up the cherry trees that were planted around the Southgate Pond. They're not doing well. They're non-natives. On the whole tree thing, there's this new tree policy. Tim, are you aware of that?
no.
It just came out this week that now you have to go through Linda.
Yeah.
And it's very, very complicated. I have a lot of questions about you have to have a certified arborist come and where are we gonna get these people? Who's gonna pay for that? It's just raising a whole lot of
If
questions.
you want to plant a tree on your,
Not planting, this is taking trees down. It's a new policy.
Yeah.
I guess I read about it on the Facebook page or something.
Is it in the blast?
Yeah, the email blast.
Now, all right, so that tells me that somebody is reacting to
Yeah.
maybe to some of the things we've said, and that's wonderful. And so the other thing I heard is the art committee is because they have to review modifications of the tree cutting guidelines, as that's their one permits. And they're concerned that homeowners are saying, oh yeah, the trees are all diseased, so we need to cut them down. Whatever they feel like. And that may be addressing that problem. Well, no, but you have to certify that truly is a diseased tree, because people are abusing the tree cutting permit guidelines, just to cut with it wherever they feel like. And I think it's, like I said, I think it's gotten worse over the last 10 years. Ocean Pines used to be very conservative, and it's changed, and people are like finding loopholes to find more reasons to cut trees down.
There's been several Ocean Pines members that have come to me or somebody at Coastal Bays talking about all the tree cutting that's happening around here. Unfortunately, we don't really get involved with policy too much. We
Yeah.
can just advise them on who to contact and reach out to.
This seems like it was not coming from internal, but it's coming from the state or something. I'm trying to find it in my, the internet in here. So, but it was in the email blast, and it involves, any wetlands or shoreline adjacent wetland. And my big question is it all of Ocean Pines considered wetlands?
No. The critical area laws only applies to 100 feet of a waterway. So pretty much any canal front houses, obviously they're close to the water. They have to comply with special county permits. And they even have to put down a deposit. I mean, it's much more restrictive. The problem, I think, is the county is not really following what the intent of that law, that they're allowing people just to replant, non-native stuff, putting up hybrid arborvitaes or whatever, and not true. And I mean, the two lots that I've seen, they could have saved a portion of the original trees, but they just simply wiped them out and then planted whatever they felt like afterwards. And it seems like that's not the intent of that law. That people are finding more loopholes around that.
So Rick Roars, he used to be art guy in Colonial Village. I mean, his input into the tree process was, the example is an applicant came in with 5 trees to take down on their property. I'm not sure if any of them were diseased or may have been close to the foundation within 10 feet. You can take a tree down, right? But so they came on back. I think Ocean Pines came on back and approved 4 of the trees. So then they brought in their contractor to take the tree down, and the tree company said, well, that tree right there, number 5, is diseased too, so we're going to take it down without going back to Ocean Pines. And so the question is, well, who really has that decision to make? Is it, the guy with the chainsaw, Santa Maria, or do we bring in an outside arborist?
Right.
And so who would pay for it? Well, if it's found to be not diseased, well, then the homeowner would pay for the arborist to come in. And if it was diseased, well, then Ocean Pines would pay for it. So that's something that's coming up to the board, for further, consideration. But that was the example that was given. 4 trees were approved. They went down and cut 5 down anyway. So.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a follow-up from Public Works after somebody's gotten the permit and the trees. Does anybody go and see whether the work was done according to the permit, or?
I'm not sure.
Yes.
Somebody does? Okay. All right. That's good enough.
Well, that's, I mean, that makes me happy because there is some, people are within the Ocean Pines are looking at the problem in some way. It's not just simply, not doing anything, that there is something happening to deal with the problem. It sounds like there's hundreds of people that are concerned about the tree cutting. It's not just me.
So right in the news section of the website, the Pines website, and it has this whole thing about state of Maryland requirements for a non-tidal wetland or wetland in Worcester County, Maryland. So I guess you have to know, I guess if you're bordering water, you're in a wetland or you're in a tidal wetland.
There's
Well-
a land use, land cover data that is accessible to the public.
Okay.
But there's also critical area mapping that is available to the public. And
From the state or some?
it's from the state. You can, so MD IMAP is a really great resource. They can show critical area. And then if you go on MD Merlin, that's another really great mapping resource that you can kind of zoom in on your property and see what your land is designated as. But it's also, when you buy your home, you should have
A plat.
a plat that tells you that information. Because
Okay.
every plat has an ID number and a association with the land type.
Well, yeah, I think people, and the tree companies know that if there's certain regulations that they have to comply with, if you're near a waterway, they know they have to do that because they'll be breaking the law if they don't go to the county with the right permit. That could, again, include properties up in the point where people, they have wetlands behind their houses. They would be part of that as well.
So anyway, yes, this whole new requirement thing has these Maryland which says you have to have documentation from an arborist for the reason to remove the trees. So it's just another layer that people have to.
I don't you think that's a good thing?
I think so. It's just a little bit of the, again, you've helped tell me, I probably don't have, I'm probably not in a wetland, but, do people even know?
But right, I was gonna say, how do people know that?
Well, I think it's, for Ocean Pines, it's obvious. You're either on the canal or you've got a marsh behind your.
I know, what I'm saying is, how do people know that you now have to get an arborist?
Well, when they apply for the permit. As soon as because if they just simply cut the trees down all completely without any kind of permit, well, for one thing, if Ocean Pines can, they do have 2 inspectors, they'll catch them and then they get a violation.
But if you're doing everything the right way,
Yeah,
if you believe you have a diseased tree that needs to come down and you bring no, not an arborist, but a tree cutting company
yeah,
in Santa Maria or whatever, and Santa Maria says, well, we need to have a permit because this
Yeah.
tree is more than, I don't know, 6 inches, 6 inches, whatever. And so then Santa Maria goes and talks to the permitting people,
yeah,
and then comes back and has a permit.
right.
So
But it
what
sounds
I'm
like
saying
the
is,
arborist is going
how-
to be in that loop.
okay, so Santa Maria will know now that the arborist is going to be in the loop,
Yeah.
or Ocean Pines
Well, they
will
get to-
say to Santa Maria, you have to have an arborist
Well,
to
somehow,
verify this.
to get that permit approved, yeah, something like that has to happen.
Permitting process starts with a homeowner.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
But-
and then, and my understanding is the tree company won't do it unless you've got the permit.
That's right.
Right,
Right,
right.
I had that problem at my house last year. The tree in the front of the house after a storm came over. It wasn't huge like this, but it still was big enough where it had to, and tall enough where I had to get it disposed. And I called up Santa Maria and they told me I needed the permit. And so I went down, got the permit and came back, and then they were able to come and cut it and get rid of it.
Well, see, the only difference, because this is we had a similar situation where we had a diseased tree, was we called Santa Maria and Santa Maria said, you need to get a permit And we said, okay, what do we do? And Santa Maria said, we will go
Yeah.
because the permitting people know us and we know them. And we will go and we will give them the information and then you will have to go pick up a permit, which we did. You know, so I was just trying to understand where in that process now with this new requirement, where
The permitters should be responsible for making sure that that's
The-
happening.
So Ocean Pines, before they issue the permit, should tell the homeowner, you need to get an
Yeah,
arbor.
if
Okay.
that's, if the permitters are responsible for making sure that those,
Okay,
before issuing the permit, that everything that's legally supposed to be done is done.
okay, because obviously we wouldn't have known, I mean, this wasn't a requirement back then.
But it still doesn't hurt to disseminate that information to make sure people.
Yeah, but it's hard
Yeah,
to
it
know,
is.
yeah, where to find this
Yeah.
information.
I was just wondering why it was taken away from Public Works. Were they being overwhelmed with permit requests or?
I don't know.
Yeah, just,
What taken away?
oh, the permitting process is now going through Linda Martin.
And Michelle.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
Just
you
for,
should-
just,
I would
just,
recommend you read this,
just for the tree.
just for the trees. And maybe they were
Interesting.
overwhelmed with
Okay.
requests. or
Well,
something.
Linda Martin is the supervisor for all the inspectors.
Ah, that's how it works.
Yes.
Okay. So she can manage workloads.
She's their supervisor.
Yeah.
I guess we'll just, in other words, things are changing. Hopefully it has a positive result to help control the tree cutting problem. We'll see how it works out. I'm glad people are paying attention to it. Just the other thing, Jeff, is you can, again, find out about the fish tubes. Also, are they gonna do a guy thing?
I asked John, and John told me, I'm reading this note right now. He has discussed the egg addling issue with his team.
Okay,
I just didn't remember, and I put in a note to John. I thought you all mentioned that it required a permit.
I think so, yeah.
So I did not know, and I said, John, I think this requires a permit. He goes, well, if you all want to do it, he said he would pay all the costs.
Originally, it's supposed to be a company because the same company who came with the dogs in the boats offered that service as well.
Mm.
And it was our understanding that we had told them, we had recommended that they hire that contractor to do the egg addling. And I don't know what happened to it
And
after that.
Was a charging document filled out and sent?
I don't think so.
I tried before my time. I don't know, but
Well,
listen, if you really, I mean, it sounds like you're passionate about it.
It's not easy to do, trust
Right,
me.
Right, I understand. But if there's a company that does it, and there's a specific
permit.
cost.
Yeah.
Which includes the permit.
Karen, can you recall some of the information? about-
Sharon has all the contact information for the person who we had recommended that they hire to do the egg addling.
Okay, I'll contact Sharon to get that. And when you send your charging document template, I'll try to
Yeah.
fill that in.
Be very specific though, and as close to, hey, that it's probably gonna cost, this company will do it for this amount. They take care of the permits, whatever it is.
And you think Sharon would have that?
Yeah, I know she does,
Okay.
because she had talked to them at length about it.
Again, the reason why we're doing that is to control the geese population.
The returning geese population.
Yeah.
Migrating.
All right, well, good, well, great. That's, I'm gonna update these status things to yellow or green. We're not gonna hit all the subjects here. Do we have another 10 minutes of time for the meeting? Patricia is
Well, I'm
missing.
dog sitting and I don't want to leave the dog locked
Okay,
up for too long. so.
okay, well, we'll keep this under control. We're gonna take a lot of subjects next meeting. Anybody? Don, you want to talk about Colonial Village next meeting?
Sure.
Okay, and as well as the debris summit,
The Minute Marine Debris Summit, yeah.
okay?
Are you there?
So we're these things, there's nothing new,
I wasn't at the summit.
or really anything happening, but we wanted to talk about the Glen Riddle sewage. As far as I know about that, it sounds like the county has a consultant to I don't know,
Hmm.
redesign the system over at Glen Riddle. So it sounds like that's not a permanent practice of taking Glen Riddle sewage trucks and putting it into the pump station down the road here, right down the road here. And then it goes into our treatment system, because their system is, broken. And, so it sounds like the county is addressing that so that practice can stop. So that's a county issue and dealing with the communities around here. Hopefully that will stop. But if I can get more information from the EA Engineering who works with the county, I'll find out. It's again, another email from somebody who was worried about to stop the pesticide mosquito spraying in Ocean Pines. Because they run those trucks around here in the middle of the night. And people are saying, you know, do you really want to do that? That's going to be a future subject. We'll talk about that. Carly, if you have any, you know, specific information about, obviously it's not a good thing, but maybe how ineffective it is and what you should do instead.
Yeah, I don't personally know too much about it, but I can see if any of my coworkers
Yeah.
have any information.
Not a huge research, just
Yeah.
some,
Yeah.
just some information that we could pass on. That would probably be a hard subject because everybody is going to be all worried about mosquitoes, and they're going to say, "What? You're going to stop spraying?" And you know that's a huge hurdle to get through, right? So whatever, we'll talk about it. Okay, I've got other information here in the agenda. You can read that. Another future subject is to give people information on how they can opt out of the free paper dumping on their driveway, because a lot of people find that annoying. So somehow they can contact the papers and say, stop doing that. I don't, whatever.
I looked at this last year for the committee and called all the papers, and my recollection was every one of them says that if their papers are not picked up, I think 2 weeks in a row, they stop throwing the papers. That's what they said their direction is to their distributors.
So in other words, if there's a huge pile of trash there, don't put another paper on top.
No. If there's two papers, you know, I mean, that's what they said. You can always contact I mean, it was the Courier, the
Gazette and Progress.
Bayside Gazette and the Ocean Pines Progress. It seems to me it was a fourth one. It might have been the Ocean Pines Independent, which I don't even know if Gannett publishes anymore.
Yeah.
But there were four, and they uniformly said, we will not, our carriers don't continue to. And they actually, some of them actually pick up the papers.
I mean, the only other thing is the homeowner calls up the paper and says, stop, tells them to stop.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be the idea. Maybe that would be a little info thing we have at our exhibit.
Hmm.
Okay, all right. Any other, if there's something burning that you want to talk about, we can bring it up next meeting, but otherwise, Ann?
I just have one real quick thing. It sounds to me like where we are now is of the 8 signs we got for the geese.
Right,
We have 6,
right,
you know, to Cathell Road, to
yeah,
Manklin Creek, to Ocean Parkway.
Yeah.
And the 2 signs that were on 589
right.
are being diverted to some other use.
Yeah, they were Robin Hood Trail.
I believe that I'm not sure why that decision was made. I heard something about people were concerned about traffic problems. All I know is that this whole initiative, the sign initiative, started because of a very bad situation that occurred on 589.
Right.
That is the area that is the most dangerous for geese crossing, and whether we like it or not, those barnyard geese are gonna cross over 589 and they're gonna take, you know, a whole minute and it drives people nuts. And then in the molting season, the regular geese also cross over 589. So that part of the road is where most of the bad stuff's going to
And
happen.
you guys did all the research. You got approval from the county and the state highway.
Yes.
That said, okay, you can
Yeah.
put the signs out there.
Yeah. And now, and so now Ocean Pines has decided that we don't need signage on
Yeah.
589, and I think that is a big mistake. It's
Right.
very helpful to have it on these
It's
other
not easy,
roads.
because remember when I put it up, we had to park at the Taylor
Yep.
Bank,
Yep,
and I had to walk it all the way down the middle,
Yeah.
holding the sign and setting it down there. And
but the bank to the south of the McDonald's agreed, Sharon went and talked to them, and
Yeah.
they agreed to let us put the sign on their property, which was helpful since the geese seem to know what McDonald's is all about.
Yeah.
and
And
the library moves the
which
sign.
ought to kill them right there.
It's sometimes it's where we
Yeah.
initially put it up,
Yeah.
then it's on the other side of the street, and then somehow
But
it
at
ends up
least
by
we-
the
we
bank,
still
and then
have
they
two.
move, it gets,
But the 589, the fact that we no longer have any protection on 589, and the issue, the thing that happened was a truck that just mowed over some geese, and people in their cars, including children, saw it, and it was there was quite an outpouring of upsetness, and I agree if I saw something like that. But so all I'm saying is I still want to deal with 589. I'm not sure what Mr. Viola's problem was with that, but you know,
Well, I think that those two signs were repurposed for whatever reason.
yes.
Again, I don't think John would have any issue if you put together a charging document to purchase two more signs.
Okay.
All right.
I don't think it would be an issue.
Well, because they're getting, I think other signs too, for more of the
Yeah.
trail pedestrian stuff.
He
So they can
purchased them the last time, so I wouldn't be able to do a charging document because I don't know how much it costs. I mean, you know, John actually did it.
I'll get you the cost.
Okay,
So, all right, so we're gonna put something together on that.
okay,
And I will emphasize all the problems you just talked about.
yeah.
yeah, one of the things about those signs is they have a cap on it, so you can put sand in it. And I'm like, there's no way.
Well, you know, I was looking at that, I
They
think,
have other kinds where the legs can actually push into the ground,
yeah,
you know, and, which is one consideration. But as I said, the other thing is to make sure you position it as best you possibly can so that
Well-
it doesn't blow over. And unless you have a major storm, usually those signs are up.
well,
all the
that
time.
windstorm we had like a week or so ago blew them over. I think what I could easily adapt that, I can attach some kind of a bracket where you can hold a stake. You know, a foot long stake that would go in the ground, so if the wind tries to push on it, the stake's gonna hold it from flipping over. So
Well,
it's a low cost attempt. to-
Well, you know,
rather-
one of the issues is that the different areas that you're putting it into the ground isn't always receptacle
Right.
to stakes. It
Right.
just, because, in fact, I had tried to do one time and it was, I had a sledgehammer out there and not going very well at all.
Right,
Because the ground underneath of it wasn't just soil.
well, that's something, so it is on us to maintain the signs. I got that answer. We gotta keep those things up. I'm on for this quarter. And then as we work through this, we'll address that
Yeah, I
problem.
don't have any times I stop and put the sign back up in my car.
Okay,
The easy ones.
Sorry, I have to leave.
okay, I think we're done.
Yeah.
And, okay, motion, anything else for now at the moment? And a motion to, adjourn?
Sure.
Okay, so that's back to our, is that our Don Bryant team again? You gonna second that, Brian?
I'll second.
All right, great, super meeting. Thank you.